My FPL Game Week 4 Team Selection. The international break is finally drawing to a close. It feels like one of the most boring and drawn out international breaks I can feel like I've ever remember. So today we're going to take you through the 2 free transfers I've already confirmed. We'll have a look at my lineup, captaincy and benching decisions going into Game Week 4. And we'll also discuss a little bit of some future plans when I'm going to play my wildcard and what transfers I might make over the next few weeks as well. What is up everyone, FPL Harry here. Before we dive in, 2,000 likes is the aim. Subscribe if you're new around here as well. And welcome to the Game Week 4 Team Selection. Before we have a look at my transfers and my team for next week, we're going to have a quick review of Game Week 3. I know it was a week and a half ago now, but I haven't reviewed it. I haven't given the score and the update of how I'm doing this season. So here it is very briefly. I did very well. So of course I do want to put it in the video. It's not something I'm, annoyed to talk about. I got 89 points last week. 10 points above my safety score. Of course, that safety score is taken from livefpl.net, and it is the score I need in order to not change rank. So I was 606k, and if I'd have got that safety score of 79, I would have stayed where I was. But it also shows you that a 10-point sort of benefit on top of that safety score has the ability to massively change your overall rank. So I moved up from 600k to 200k, a third of my rank going into Game Week 3. Again, very happy with that. But it's just a reminder that at the moment, overall rank doesn't really mean anything, but you can have massive swings based off 1 or 2 returns in your team. And that's basically what happened for me this week. Defensively was actually not the best. I had 1 clean sheet from Trent. I had 4 from Henderson, which was nice to see some points from him finally. We had Robinson with some returns. It was Eze who was my transfer in last week for Christopher and Kunku. And then it was, of course, the forward line that really came in. Erling Haaland with his hat-trick, although he did get matched by Mo Salah, who I don't own. It then really was Alexander Isak with his 9 and Chris Wood with his 9 as well that did the magic for me this week. Again, I know it was a while ago, but let me know in the comments how you got on in Game Week 3. How many points did you get? Highs or lows? Anything like that, and who did you captain as well? Benching decision went pretty well. I did bench Porro. He did look very effective, but didn't get any returns. And Smith Rowe was a late benching decision between him, Eze, and Rodgers. I'm just happy that I didn't bench Eze that week. So given that I've made my 2 transfers very early on in the international break to try and catch some price rises, I'm just going to dive in. We're not going to talk about potential transfers because I'm almost certain there'll be no more transfers to be made before the Game Week 4 deadline. However, I do have a few benching decisions and a captaincy dilemma as well. In goal, we do have Henderson, fingers crossed, with the likes of Chalobah, Gay staying. They've got Richards. They've got a very strong defence. Of course, they signed Lacroix from Wolfsburg as well, on top of Munoz and Mitchell. Hopefully some defensive points, maybe even a clean sheet from Henderson, hopefully for some saves as well. Feeling slightly more positive about him than maybe I have done in the past few weeks. We do have Matthews, their option, as the backup on the bench. Into defence, on the bench, of course, we've got Johnson of Ipswich. Slightly concerning, he doesn't look nailed like we thought he would going into the start of the season. He is just going to fit third sub for me, but he is one of those players I will look to sort as and when I do play my wildcard, but until then, he's just going to sit last on my bench. Trent Alexander-Arnold, of course, is absolutely locked in my starting 11. He's got Nottingham Forest at home. It feels like that Trent haul is absolutely coming at some point. He could have got it in Game Week 3. Of course, he scored, but there was a very marginal offside from Salah that did get it ruled out. I just think he has the ability to get goals and assists. I'm very happy I started with him. I just need that haul to come very soon before I potentially use my wildcard where he might not stay. I haven't fully decided on that yet. Now then I have 3 defenders and I can only start 2 of them. We've got Gabriel, we've got Robinson, and we've got Porro. At the moment it's Robinson who's top of the list just because it is a slightly better fixture. He's playing at home and it is of course against West Ham. 2 assists in the opening 3 games. Have been pretty impressed with Fulham as well and with Robinson's attacking threat, so he is currently starting. Then it is Pedro Porro up against Gabriel. Now Porro is very attacking. He is getting very far forward. He has shown attacking threat so far this season as well, and he is at home. However, he is of course playing against an Arsenal team who I fully expect to score in this game. I fully expect Spurs to score as well though, which is why I'm starting him over Gabriel. It looks like Arsenal will be without both Declan Rice and without Martin Odegaard as well, which is probably bad for the likes of Kai Havertz and maybe bad for the likes of Bukayo Saka as well. But it does mean that I think they'll be slightly weaker from set pieces because those are the 2 players that do tend to take a lot of their set pieces and they'll control the game less. I expect Arsenal to have slightly less of the ball, slightly less control if they're going to, have a midfield of Partey, Jorginho and then Havertz over having Declan Rice and Odegaard in there. Just think it might give Spurs a little bit more ability to create some chances. So I'm just going with Porro over Gabriel at the moment. Into midfield, it is all home fixtures continued in my lineup. I have 11 home fixtures, partly Porro over Gabriel as well, gives me that 11th home fixture. We did bring in Eze last week. He does have Leicester at home. I am hoping that Crystal Palace team, now they've had an international break together. Actually, very few of them went on international duty. Hopefully, a lot of them can stay, sort of start to build a bit of momentum like they did at the end of last season. They can hit the ground running with Leicester at home. Of course, I have Henderson in goal. I'm very happy with Eze in my team as well. We added Mo Salah as one of my transfers. I sold, of course, Bukayo Saka up to Mo Salah. We'll talk about where I got the money for that in a moment. It is just one eye on the game week 4 fixture, of course, Forest at home, but particularly the game week 5 fixture at home to Bournemouth, where he is the standout captaincy option next week. I don't massively think that this week, looking at Forest data, that Salah is a much better option than Bukayo Saka. However, there was a value play where I knew I was going to gain 0.1. It might even be 0.2 by the time the game week 4 deadline does roll around. And I know that the game week 5 fixture is really important for Salah as a captain as well. We've then gone with Diogo Jota, who's been in there. I do slightly prefer Luis Diaz, but the only thing is Luis Diaz has been away playing with Colombia on Tuesday, whereas Jota was playing for Portugal in Europe on Sunday. Slightly more sure of starts for Jota, given they do have Champions League on Tuesday as well. Let's hope that some of the chances that Jota is getting that have been maybe falling to Luis Diaz and Salah, that Jota can start to finish. Then it is the 2 cheap options that I have got a very, very close eye on. Smith Rowe this week at home to West Ham along with Robinson, and then we've got Rodgers at home to Everton. I need these 2 to start performing. Smith Rowe has had 1 goal, to be fair, out of the first 3, and that's absolutely fine. He's on to score sort of 13 or so goals over the course of the season, which would be an absolutely fine return for a player of his price, but I do still need it in the West Ham at home or the Newcastle at home game over the next 2. I need to start seeing some returns. However, it is Rodgers in particular that I need to see something from this week, if not very soon. The issue is he has Everton at home, Wolves at home, Ipswich away, so even if he does keep blanking, it's going to be very hard for me to go and sell him because at his price, there's not many better options. They do have Champions League though starting soon, so the minutes might not be quite as high and assured as we've seen. It is Smith Rowe and Rodgers that I'm looking at in my team that have great fixtures, but I need to start seeing some returns. And then we're moving up front. It is Erling Haaland, and then it is, of course, my second free transfer. Alexander Isak left the team for João Pedro. João Pedro is, at time recording, on his way back to the UK from Brazil. He played 45 minutes in total over the international break and then is on a private jet home already to Manchester and then going to Brighton after that. Yes, apologies, I have looked at, well, it was shared on Twitter to be fair, but I have looked at João Pedro's plane home to see whether he's going to be available for the weekend. I did buy him before he was added to the Brazil squad, but I don't have much concern over it. So many players go on international duty all over the world, to South America, to the likes of Japan, to the likes of Korea. We see Son, we see the likes of Mitoma going to Asia as well, and they just come back and they play every week. So I don't quite know why such a big deal is made of João Pedro going and joining up with the Brazil squad. It is a great fixture at home to Ipswich, and I've gained a little bit of value. Chris Wood, who's been great for me, does go away to Liverpool, so he is my first sub going into the weekend. He has been pretty good going forward. Of course, a nice international break rest for him, and I do expect some returns over the next few weeks, but I am going to bench him against Liverpool. Then it comes down to the captaincy armband, and it is, of course, Mo Salah or Erling Haaland. It could even be Eze, but it is going to be Salah or Haaland that does get the captaincy armband from me. Now, I think it's actually really, really close when you start to look at them. Forest data so far this season has been really strong, and we spoke about it at the end of last season. The underlying data was really good. Liverpool do look like they're creating a lot of chances. Salah is very involved, and it's a very similar situation when you look at Haaland. Brentford's data defensively is pretty strong, but they're creating a lot of chances, and Erling Haaland is very, very involved. Just at the moment, at time recording, I'm favouring Erling Haaland. He will be one of the only players in history to score 3 hat-tricks in a row. He'll be gunning for more records like that. And I do think, of course, that the Liverpool goals get shared around a little bit more with Salah, whereas Haaland seems such a focal point, and we've seen how fit he is, how up and running he is already with both of them. So I have transitioned to a Haaland and Salah team going into game week 4, 3-5-2 with Haaland captain, Mo Salah vice captain. So what I want to do now is have a look at how my team looks going forward, talk about when I'm going to wildcard and things like that, because I'm getting a lot of questions on chip strategy, wildcard 4, wildcard 6 and things like that. I'm fully aware that the transfers I made this week of Salah and João Pedro might well force me into a game week 6 wildcard, because those two players look great for the next two, particularly João Pedro. After that, the fixtures don't look great, and I've sold Bukayo Saka, who does look like a really, really nice option from about game week 6, 7 onwards, when the Arsenal fixtures do start to look really nice. So we will cover that. We're going to use planfpl.com. It is in partnership with Fantasy Football Scout. You can use the free part of it, but if you want your predicted points over the next few weeks, you do have the ability to go and connect your Scout membership. Check the link in the description if you want to sign up to that. Next week is game week 5, and that is, of course, the big reason that I did the Saka to Mo Salah transfer. So Salah is going to be the captain for me going into game week 5. It is that Bournemouth at home fixture. Vice captain may end up on Erling Haaland. It will probably end up on someone like Trent or even a Diogo Jota as well. The plan next week will be to roll the transfer. I will potentially be looking to start Chris Wood. It may be in favour of Smith Rowe. It may be in place of Morgan Rogers, depending on how their performances go this week. I'm just going to put it in for Smith Rowe for now, just based off the slightly easier fixture. I do plan on rolling my transfer going into game week 5, but of course, if anything happens big in game week 4, it might change my mind a little bit. Game week 6 is going to be the big one for me. I will be carrying 2 transfers going into game week 6, and the plan at the moment is about 60% chance that I play my wildcard in game week 6. Now, what you're probably thinking is, Harry, your team looks pretty strong in game week 6. Why would you consider wildcarding it? Now, there are lots of fixture swings that start in game week 6. Looking at the likes of Brentford, I'd want Mbeumo. I'd look at Visa, Rico Henry potentially. I could go on Flecken. There is also Arsenal's big fixture swing, which starts in game week 6 as well, and I only have Gabriel. I could delay it until game week 7 because my team looks pretty good in game week 6, whereas my game week 7 team looks pretty awful. Like, I've got Rodgers against Man United, I've got Eze against Liverpool, I've got Smith Rowe against Man City, Wood away at Chelsea, João Pedro against Spurs. So that's why it's 60%. Then there's about a 10-15% chance I play it in game week 7, and then about a 20% or so, 25% chance that I delay it until about game week 12. The only reason that I would delay it is if I have a good couple of weeks over the next couple and I decide to use a couple of extra transfers, maybe a -4 or something going into game week 6, game week 7, in order to save that wildcard and make a few other changes to my squad. So just to talk about what those potentially could be, I could do Diogo Jota to Brian Mbeumo, who is one of the most sought after players once game week 6 does come around. I could sell João Pedro and go and buy Visa, who is also likely to be a very popular option going into that time. And that would be 2 free transfers. In game week 6, that would look pretty nice. I'd probably end up benching Smith Rowe again. Going into game week 7, things would look a little bit better because we'd have Visa with a nice fixture. We might be forced to use an extra transfer, for example, doing a Smith Rowe to a Semenyo, for example, given that he plays Leicester that week and he's a good player to be buying in for the long term. I could potentially add an extra transfer, but I am running low on budget, and that might allow me to save my wildcard a little bit later, but it does mean I'm not rolling a lot of transfers. So at the moment, I think there's about a 60% chance I play it in game week 6, 15% chance I play it in game week 7, and then a 25% chance I delay it, use a few of my transfers, maybe even taking a -4, and delay the wildcard all the way up until game week 12, where there is another set of fixture swings. So that is the plan over the next few weeks. Of course, the transfers for game week 4 have already been made. If you've got any questions about your team and what you should be doing this week, do leave it in the comment section down below. If you've done something different to my team or you don't like what I've done, again, I'm happy to hear it. Please do let me know what you would do between starting Pedro Porro and starting Gabriel, or even would you bench Robinson or someone else? Let me know, because I'm a bit of a loss of which of those defenders to start, because I could just see Gabriel scoring a header the way that Spurs do defend set pieces. Anyway, that is all for this video. Thank you all so much for watching. It is lovely to have FPL back. The international break is over. 24 hours, 48 hours until the start of another round of Premier League. Thank you all so much for watching. 2,000 likes is the aim. Subscribe if you are new around here. Leave any questions you have in the comments, and I'll be back again very soon.